Have you ever felt it? That quiet, gnawing fear that maybe you were meant for more, but you're somehow missing it? You wake up, scroll, work, rest, repeat. You have flashes of ambition, sparks of purpose, but then the noise of life drowns it out. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow becomes next week. And one day you look around and realize you've built a life of comfort, but not of meaning. Most people think failure comes from lack of opportunity or luck, but it doesn't. Failure begins as a single, unguarded thought. Because every fortune, every empire, every revolution began first as an idea. Napoleon Hill called it the philosophy of achievement. Andrew Carnegie believed it was the only real secret worth discovering. And yet most people will never use it because it demands something we secretly fear: to take absolute responsibility for the contents of our own mind. Section 1. Thought, the invisible currency. Thoughts are things. It sounds poetic, even mystical, but it's not. It's a law of the human psyche. Every thought we dwell upon eventually manifests in behavior, in choices, and finally, in reality. Plato once wrote that the soul of man is composed of the same substance as the stars. What he meant was that our inner world, the invisible world of thought and desire, is not some shadow of reality. It is the seed of it. The greatest obstacle to achievement isn't the lack of resources or intelligence, it's mental drift. The untrained mind wanders aimlessly, filled with conflicting desires, borrowed opinions, and invisible fears inherited from others. But the mind that learns to think with definiteness of purpose becomes a weapon. It stops reacting and starts creating. Andrew Carnegie said to Napoleon Hill, "Any man who knows what he wants and is willing to pay the price to get it can have it." The price, as it turns out, is terrifyingly high. You must give up your right to blame anything outside yourself. Section 2. The burning desire. There's a story. A poor man named Edwin C. Barnes looked at Thomas Edison and said, "I will go into business with him." He had no money, no connections, no reason to be taken seriously, but he had one thing most people never cultivate: a burning desire that would not leave him alone. Barnes took a train to Edison's lab and offered to work for next to nothing. Years passed. He swept floors, delivered messages, and then, when opportunity appeared, he seized it. When others hesitated, he acted. That decision made him a partner of Edison. He literally thought himself into success. Desire, when it burns deeply enough, becomes creative energy. It changes your posture, your voice, your choices. It magnetizes circumstances to you. Most people wish for things, they don't desire them. A wish waits for permission. A desire demands expression. Section 3. Faith, the mind's alchemy. Faith isn't religion, it's mental chemistry. It's the ability to see what isn't visible yet and act as though it were. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Faith gives birth to that why. It transforms uncertainty into motion. When you repeat a belief with conviction, you're programming the subconscious to obey. It's not superstition, it's neuroplasticity. The brain literally rewires itself around what you expect to be true. If you constantly affirm failure, fear, and doubt, your mind will build a life that proves you right. But if you flood your subconscious with images of triumph, with the certainty that you will succeed, your brain begins conspiring in your favor. That's why Hill's 6 steps work. You write your goal. You define the cost. You fix the date. You build a plan. You repeat it aloud every day. And you believe. It's not magic. It's discipline of thought. And it's rarer than genius. Section 4. The enemies within. Before you can command the laws of achievement, you must confront your inner enemies. They're not out there in the world. They live in your own mind. Indecision, doubt, fear. They are the silent assassins of every great idea. They whisper in your ear, "What if you fail? What will people think?" And most people obey. The fear of criticism alone kills more dreams than poverty ever could. Think of it. How many of your opinions, your choices, your limits were inherited from others, from parents, teachers, society, voices that once questioned your boldness until you questioned it yourself. Bonhoeffer once wrote, "The ultimate test of a moral society is the kind of man that it forms, but the ultimate test of a person is this: can you form yourself in spite of society? The weak mind absorbs, the strong mind selects. To succeed, you must build what Hill called a wall of immunity, a refusal to let other people wes negativity occupy your mental space rent-free. Because as long as your mind is open to fear, it cannot serve faith." Section 5, The Power of the Master Mind. No empire was ever built alone. Even the greatest minds of history, Carnegie, Edison, Lincoln, surrounded themselves with what Hill called a master mind, a group of people united by harmony and purpose. When two or more minds come together with shared intent, something invisible forms. A third mind, a synthesis of creative energy greater than the sum of its parts. Psychology now calls this collective intelligence. Ancient mystics called it the spirit of communion. Whatever you name it, it's real. Isolation breeds doubt, but association with strong, purposeful thinkers breeds courage. It's why mediocrity is contagious, and so is greatness. If you wish to rise, you must curate your circle ruthlessly. Ask yourself, do the people around me remind me of my potential or my limits? Section 6, The Mystery of Transmutation. There's a force most people waste without realizing it. Napoleon Hill called it sex transmutation, not in the physical sense, but as the redirection of creative energy. Sexual energy, when unrefined, seeks pleasure. When transmuted, it becomes genius. History's greatest minds, Da Vinci, Newton, Beethoven, were all masters at converting raw human energy into creation. They learned to channel desire upward, from the body to the brain, from the urge to the idea. In a world addicted to instant gratification, this is revolutionary. Because every time you delay indulgence in favor of creation, you increase your internal power. You become capable of doing difficult things, of holding tension without escape, and that tension becomes art. Section 7, Decision and Persistence, the gatekeepers of destiny. Most people fail not because they lack goals, but because they never decide. They linger in endless analysis, mistaking thought for progress. The successful decide quickly and act persistently. They change course only when logic demands it, not fear. Machiavelli once said, "Fortune is a woman, and if you wish to master her, you must seize her boldly." Life responds to decisiveness. It punishes hesitation. But decision alone is not enough. You must persist. Persistence is faith in motion. It's the refusal to interpret failure as final. It's Barnes staying in Edison's lab when everyone else quit. It's the soldier who continues marching after the drums have stopped. When defeat comes, and it will, it's not a signal to stop. It's a question from the universe. How much do you really want this? Section 8, The Subconscious and the Sixth Sense. Your subconscious mind is the bridge between thought and reality. It never sleeps. It never judges. It simply accepts whatever you impress upon it, good or bad, and works tirelessly to make it real. That's why your dominant thoughts become your dominant life. If your mind is filled with fear, it will find reasons to confirm it. If your mind is filled with vision, it will find pathways to fulfill it. And when the subconscious becomes harmonized with faith and emotion, something remarkable happens. You begin to receive intuition, a sixth sense. Ideas appear in flashes. Solutions emerge when you least expect them. It feels divine, because it is. Plato called it the voice of the demon. Hill called it infinite intelligence. You might call it your higher self, but it only speaks when your mind is quiet, disciplined, and prepared to listen. Section 9, Mastering Your Own Fate. Every man is the master of his fate, the captain of his soul, not because of some mystical destiny, but because he controls the one thing that controls all else, his thoughts. Most people never take possession of their own minds. They live as tenants in their own skulls, ruled by fear, distraction, and the opinions of others. But you can choose differently. You can decide that your mind will serve you, not sabotage you. You can fix upon a goal so definite, so consuming, that it becomes the axis around which your entire being revolves. You can learn to think with intensity, to believe with conviction, to act with courage, to persist beyond reason. And when you do, life itself begins to bend around your will. This isn't magic, it's mastery. Maybe you've been waiting for a sign, some proof that your dreams are possible. This is it. Because every great thing humanity has ever built began in the same invisible place, a single, unwavering thought. Someone, somewhere said, "I will," and refused to unsay it. So ask yourself tonight, what idea has been whispering to you, begging to be born? What dream have you been too afraid to claim? Write it down, name your price, build your plan, and begin. The moment you decide with absolute conviction, the universe rearranges itself to make room for you. As Napoleon Hill wrote, all achievement, all earned riches have their beginning in an idea. So guard your thoughts, feed your desire. And remember, the world doesn't belong to the intelligent or the lucky. It belongs to the ones who believe long enough to prove themselves right.